Okay, now we're good.
My legs are long.
So you guys there, Yasmin and Zach,
I'm here.
Yeah.
we're gonna be doing this plot plan handout, okay?
Is that C1?
Yeah, so Yasmin, do you know how to split your screen?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Most students do, but I have to check. It's only adult people that don't know how to do any of this stuff. Okay, great. So, oh yeah, let me get back to so we're recording those, and then I take the recording and I turn it into a YouTube. So, we're all gonna be on there. So if you miss a class, and like Diego will have to look at last night's and the beginning of tonight, it's under CT 116. Well, I'll get it up later on.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is this class like in the pipeline, like the Canvas? I can never find it. Like, I never see
It's
that.
not in Canvas.
Okay. Is it
Yeah,
just through
Canvas
the
isn't
email?
required.
It's through the email, correct?
Pardon?
It's through the email, your email? Like the
Well,
class kind of?
well, live classes don't have to be Zoomed at all or Canvas.
Hmm.
Teachers use Canvas as a platform for their class because they can do tests on it, it's easier.
Mhm.
But, and I did it when we had COVID because there was, no other way to do it. But, I don't need, it's too complicated for this type of class when it's live,
Mhm.
so I don't do it. So like, I'll give you a written test, like last semester, right here. So you don't need to use the Canvas for anything. Yeah, so you won't find it.
Right.
So all the information you need will be in everything I give you, like the syllabus will have any stuff you need. Okay, so let me get back to that YouTube. Somebody look up CT 116 on the YouTube channel, and I think it's it might say Zoom or it might say recordings. Try either of those. I think I asked Zach this question before. On my personal YouTube page, I think it's through the school too. I have on my home thing, I have all the recordings I have for each class. And I'm not sure how you guys can access that. Zach, did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. I just linked to your video that you posted yesterday.
You accessed the video from yesterday?
Yeah.
How'd you get to it?
I went to YouTube and I typed in CT 116.
Okay.
It comes out of CT 116 S22 class 1.
Yeah, okay. So that's how you get to it. You just go to YouTube and do CT 116. And if you have a problem, just let me know.
Subscribe to Patrick Foster.
What's that?
Subscribe to Patrick
Hit the
Foster.
hit the subscribe button.
I've got dozens of YouTubes on it, and they're so interesting. It's bad because I have to use the YouTube page a lot, and it has all the stuff you've looked at in the last year, only new additions. So there's anybody look at that guitar guy? He plays guitar and he goes over old, the greatest guitar solos and the greatest guitar riffs.
There's a couple of them.
Yeah. This guy, I love this guy. He's a great talker, and I love his grasp of music. So if I'm doing my school stuff and I see his face, I go, shit. I usually interrupt it and look at his video for an hour and then go back.
Do you ever
It's
watch
dangerous.
those puzzle guys
What?
solving like those $40,000 puzzles?
Yeah.
Those things are interesting.
And then they have building stuff. So like tonight I was doing it.
The
Today,
primitive building.
yeah.
That stuff is so cool.
So tonight they had a thing, a woman talking, and I've seen her before, talking about new types of studs. And I forget what she called them, but they're like a 2x4 going this way and a 2x4 going this way, and they're connected by these little pieces of wood. Although she said that the company wouldn't give what the material was, but they're to prevent thermal bridging. And then you can fill an insulation between them. So it's just that little prong that connects them. So I saved it. Some class I'll show it. Some of those things are gimmicky. I'm not real, keen on them. She said they're more expensive, but you can get higher insulation, therefore your utility bills will be less and blah, blah, blah.
But the foam gets in there when you make a, what is that, a California thing? or-
Well, yeah, but if you have a regular 2x4, 2x6 wall, then you've got those studs that are bridging heat across.
Okay.
So you don't want the studs to touch, but there's no way to do that. What some people do is they put rigid insulation outside across all the studs, and that stops it. So that's one way.
I feel like that would be cheaper than buying all of this.
I think so. Well, she said also that not only utility bills, but they were straighter than studs. And I thought, man, that's not gonna be a selling item, you know? And you couldn't stack them, even they're just kind of weird shaped, you know, and I thought, nice try, folks, but yeah, you know, I mean, the insulation requirements are getting so high. If you use 2x4, you have to use auxiliary insulation, so you have to put rigid on the outside. And if it gets any wider, we have to use even thicker, so. Well, this was equivalent to 2x8 wall, so maybe it would be good for a while. Yeah. But I don't know that you can't use fiberglass. You have, because you couldn't squeeze the fiberglass between them. It's only good for some kind of fill. Anyway. I have to look at all that stuff, and that's my job. Rate it in my mind. Somebody will come up with something that's really good. Okay, so let's see. We have an extra set of, oh, there's a set that, Anthony, grab that set right there. You can use that set. We were going to refer to that off and on tonight. So, so those of you who missed last night, make sure you go to that video. Bad as it is, it's me talking because we, you know. But I'm going to send you to and this person. Maybe this is Memphis. I don't know if Memphis is male or female. I bet this is Memphis. Memphis.
Yes, sir.
All right.
When jumped around free camp.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. So find a seat and then come up and get one each of these handouts. Yeah. So you guys can share that set of plans, Matthias. Let me get on there. Yeah, right here. This, yeah, one of each of those. And so, Joshua and Anthony and Memphis. Did I say anything you guys yet about the rules? Maybe I did see you. But you need an architect scale. They're like $5 at,
Hey, where do we get those?
the cheapest one is are at the school bookstore, but you may not be on campus. Staples, I think that Office Max, whatever it is downtown, has them, and the art store Essentials.
Art Essentials is.
Art Essentials have-
for all the
The
graphics.
cheapest ones are plastic with no color, just black and white like this one. And then you can get them metal and you can get them with color codes that the more used ones have a color, so you can just put that without having to look at each scale.
Yeah, don't get this one.
But so these are like $5.
Whatever you do, don't get this one.
Yeah, so that brings up the other thing. They make two kinds of scales,
Engineer.
engineer and architect. Make sure it says architect on it, okay, and not engineer. It's really important. Because they're totally different scales. So it just has architect printed on
Yeah.
it, okay? So by Monday, maybe you can get
Oh,
them?
I got mine.
Oh, you got yours, right? Oh, okay, okay. So Monday, yeah, okay, cool. Okay, good. Yeah, some of you already have them anyway, so. Oh, Memphis, also this. Have you gone to City College before?
I'm not.
Oh, okay. So you gotta fill that out. I have to fill out some of it. The reason, they're gonna ask you why you didn't come to the first class. And you can say teacher wasn't sure if there was enough room. Just write that.
Thank
It
you.
doesn't matter. I just say any, whatever works. And then bring it back. I'm calling my chair to see if one of us can take them all down and not all of us have to go to the admissions and submit it. I'll find out before tonight. Nice. Okay, so We just have Jezebel and Salvador, so. Doesn't look like they're gonna make it. So. So we know where to go for video. You know to get the, probably you guys, new guys should get a 3-ring binder because we have another set maybe that big. And it's just a good way to store them if you have an old one. Okay. And bring some scratch paper with it to class if you have it. Just in case you have to write or figure something. So last night, for the new guys, we went over these two, print reading and lines and symbols. Okay, so I'll try to catch you up in some fashion, but go ahead, if you read those, you'll be just about halfway. So.
We had to read this one yesterday too.
Yeah, I told you to read it, but we went over most of it, so just,
Okay.
yeah. So read those and then I'll talk to you like Monday or Tuesday about if you have any questions there. It's pretty straightforward, so, and you may know a lot of it anyway if you've been in the field. Okay, so site plans or plot plans. So in a set of prints, every type of plan has a name. And that's what this print reading does. It has just an introduction overview of what the names of those different ones are. So why don't you open that up to the page 3 on that. This is a repeat from last night. And it says set of prints, except S doesn't come out. So at the bottom of that, you guys got that, page 3? At the bottom, it says, see where it says civil, at the very bottom, civil and then architecture underneath that. Yeah. Okay, these are the names of different types of plans. So civil plan, the most common one is the plot plan. That's classified as a civil plan because a civil engineer works on it and maybe does the surveying. Then architectural A is the next set. And if you look through this thing that's on your desk, it has examples of each of those. But architecture has several plans, floor plan, which we're going to talk about today, elevations and sections, I think is next week, or the week, Monday or Tuesday next time. Down the line, mechanical, electrical, that kind of names. And this handout also talks about the formats, the templates they made for prints. So it's the order of the prints and the number. And they made this convention, this classification, so it can be used worldwide. Everybody knows, oh, go to the civil plan, most usually the front. And so they can find stuff that way, and they'll be familiar. And then there's also templates for the individual page, what's on it, and how you put a border and that kind of stuff. We don't need to do that because usually prints are given to us with all that stuff already. And then on page 11, it says uniform drawing system, and it has a bunch of modules that make prints uniform. So just look through that. And as we go, we'll be talking about that too, so you'll catch up. So the first civil plan, and often the only civil plan, is a plot plan, or sometimes called a site plan, S-I-T-E. If you look at that one on your desk, it's called a site plan. The book that we're taking each one calls it a plot plan. And it's the house on its site. That's literally what it is. And we're going to talk about why you need that plan and what it's got on it. Yeah. And then we're going to site a house. So if you look at the features of a plot plan, it's got, and we'll look at this first page on this one that's on our desk, because that's got a lot of those things that's on this. There's lot and block number or address. Is that on here? No, because I told you they made this up, so I think it's they won't have that. But Okay, here's an interesting thing, bearing or direction and length of property lines. So we're gonna look at the one that's in this handout, on the second page, is really interesting because it's not oriented north and south. So the one on this thing on our desk, it's got a big compass pointing north. And again, it depends, cities sometimes start early, making everything north and south and perpendicular and parallel, but not always. And sometimes it's too late for that. The city's already half done. So the streets don't run north and south. So this one, they just probably made one north and south because well, it's not even all north and south. The back, if you look at the back boundary line is north and south, and then it cuts back in like a dog leg that way. So even that plan's not that way, but we'll talk about what importance that orientation has in a second. So all the boundary lines have an orientation. See on this one, on our plan, on the top, it says south 05 degrees, 0 minutes, 0 seconds west. So that means this top boundary line is going south by west, or it's that many degrees off of south. 5 degrees, so it's not very. Now, see, that doesn't make any sense. It should be.
Wait, wouldn't that be E?
It should be.
What's on this other? West is on this one. Never eats. Yeah.
Well, I think they write it this way. It's not the normal way we write it. Like if we were writing if we were doing a solar array, we'd say it differently, but this is obviously, this is going more or less east or west, right? Obviously, if north is straight up on this, that top line's going east and west. It looks almost perpendicular. So, but it's not exactly, it's 5 degrees off of that. So that's what that means. In our handout, it's even worse, and we'll go over that, finding that. It's kind of hard. Normally, you don't, the boundaries survey, if it's not already on the records in the jurisdiction where you're building the house or remodeling, it's already recorded or it has to be surveyed for the set of prints for a permit. So a survey will go out and establish, so these are his details for what orientation is north and south, and then what the length of the back lines are. So the surveyor does that. So it doesn't concern us too much, because we're not going to lay that out. We're not going to do the survey. We're just going to mainly deal with the house. And the house, we don't really need to do that. And I'll show you how we find where the house goes in terms of those sidelines, but it doesn't involve an orientation north and south. We don't have to really do that. Okay, so what else does it have? It has a north arrow. This one has a north arrow. Has dimensions of the front, rear, and side yards. Yeah, you can see that. It's really cluttered, but you can kind of see that. Location of other accessory buildings. Yeah, I think that garage is, I don't know if it's attached or not. No, it's not. It's got a deck that connects it, but it's detached. So that would be considered an accessory. Location of walks, drives, fences, and patios. It's got all that, right? Location of easements, setbacks. So that means your structures have to be a certain distance from a fence. A lot of you may know this. If you try to extend your house past those closer to the fence, the building code will get down on you. Anybody know why we have setbacks between the house and the boundary? Firemen, not necessarily a fire engine, because that would take quite a bit. They're pretty wide, but fire crews, and they're pretty wide with all the crap they have on. They have to be able to get back into your backyard.
With the
So
ladder.
Huh?
With the ladder.
Yeah, with a ladder and whatever they're carrying. So you always have to have those passageways. Same thing with solar panels. They can't be right up to the edge of the roof because firemen have to go up there. And sometimes they have to put holes in the roof, so they have to be on the roof. And there's no room to walk. they're gonna slip on the solar panels. So you have to leave little pathways for that too. So location of utilities, and this has, let's see if we can see, anybody see a utility location on this particular one? Louis, are you looking?
8-foot wide utility.
Where's that? Oh, yeah. So they just give you utility easement. But they don't, on this one, they don't actually show the lines. Elevations at various locations. So look at the house structure. You see that in the middle of this plan, this left-hand plan, site plan?
Patrick, I think they do show the utilities.
It says subfloor elevation, 106.32 feet.
Right.
So every site plan will have an elevation for a house and maybe a garage, if it's, sometimes garages are different height than the house, they'll have a garage too. And it's usually goes, it says subfloor elevation. So what's the subfloor? No?
It's the framing beneath the floor.
Yeah, okay. So it's usually plywood or OSB, the subfloor. Because it's whatever goes over the joist and is underneath the finished floor. So out here in this area, it's usually, sheet wood of some kind. So you take the top of that, and that's what you're gonna say, your 106.32. And I'll show you how we're gonna do that. But we've got a special problem to do at the end of this. But they use the subfloor because sometimes you don't know what the finished floor is going to be. And it could be slight variation, although it's not going to make that much difference. You're talking about where the house sits on the land. If it's 3/4 of an inch up or down, nobody's going to notice that, but they want it to be right on. So they set the subfloor, but you're not going to start building the subfloor, right? What's the first thing you're going to build for the house? Foundation, right? So it could be a slab and it could be a raised foundation. So you're going to have form boards of some kind on the surface of the ground, slightly above it or into the ground. So you're somewhere around there. But the subfloor, say if you have a slab, the top of the slab is the subfloor, right? Or if you're putting something between that and the finished boards, then maybe the top of that will be. But in a raised foundation, you've got a concrete stem wall, and then you're going to put a plate on, then you're going to put a floor system, right? So, and then you've got on top of that floor joist system, you've got the subfloor. So you're going to have to subtract from that height that's given from the top of the subfloor down to where the form boards are going to go. That's how you find out where, and I'll explain that more as we go because we're going to do that exercise. But anyway, they're giving you the where the house is situated this way is given by that elevation for subfloor. That's going to key you into where it's going to be, and we'll show you how to get to that in a second. So it says elevations at the various locations. Sometimes if the land is sculpted a lot, it's on a hill, they'll give elevations kind of everywhere so you can see how it rises. Let's see what this does. This looks like it's pretty flat, although, are there any elevations in the back? No, not really. Sometimes you see elevations in the corners of the lot, just to give you an idea of how that relates to where the house is. This, like I said, this is not a real one. They've kind of put this together. So when we look at real site plans, this one in the second page and the one on the back, we're going to look at, those are a little more real. Then they show trees and shrubs. You can see these wooded area, kind of tree-like drawings, and then there's no individual trees. Look at the backyard. See those little symbols? It's got a middle spike and then side spikes. So we have a symbol page on here. I wonder if that's in our symbol page. With any luck? No. Yeah, I think that's just, native land, like you said, it could be just shrubs that are there.
Maybe a
Plant.
marsh.
I think that's what that means. Is there a symbol?
A lawn.
land conservation area.
Yeah. So I think it's just means wild land.
Yeah.
Okay.
Habitat.
Yeah.
I mean, in lines and symbols on the last page, in topographical symbols,
Yeah.
there's tall grass right there.
Is that what that says, tall grass?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Thanks, Bill. I knew it was somewhere. So in the, one of the things we did last night. It does look like wild ground. I don't know why. Okay, now we got. Diego. Diego, come up here. You bad boy.
Oh, Diego,
Here you go.
Jacob, my bad.
Sorry.
Very
So
good.
you need to fill this out in class. And I'll tell you what to do with it. Okay, well, you turn it back. So that, let me write you, let me get you a, yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, so get ready to write that down. So go find a seat and I'll yell it out to you. Okay, ready? Have me sit down.
Yeah, what's the code?
Okay, it's T9BB39. And the class is CT 116. Blueprint reading, if you want to write that. And then the CRN you'll need, and that's 22115. 22115. Yeah. Okay. And then pick up one of these. Yeah.
This is schedule, I think.
Schedule around. Come up and pick out one of those. I've got a somewhere here. I've got it. I can print it. This is the syllabus. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Patrick,
Yes, sir.
where do they decide where, or how do they decide where utilities get connected at? Like on this, I'm confused because like gas, electric, and sewer all go into a bedroom.
On this,
On C1,
you're looking at on C1 on the plot plan, site plan?
sorry, did we go to another one? I didn't hear.
What's that?
Sorry, did we go to another one? I didn't hear.
Plot plan.
Yeah, we're looking at, there's one in the, we're looking at the one on our C1 on our education plan.
Yeah, on the plot plan.
Okay, so how do you know it's a bedroom?
I was looking at the floor plan, A5.
Oh, floor plan. Well, you said C1, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I cross-referenced them. I looked at both of them.
Okay, what's the floor plan? What number?
A5.
Okay. And the bedroom. Where?
Yeah, the bay window in the bottom right.
Bedroom 3.
Yeah. And where is it? What are you looking at?
So on
C1?
C1, that's where the utilities get connected. I'm curious how they decide where those go.
Yeah, it doesn't show it on the floor plan, but I think that's the closest place to the street, which is where the utilities are probably coming from.
Mhm.
So that's the closest part of the house to the street, and it's probably a crawl space, it's probably, I can't remember the last time I looked at these, yeah, there's a crawl space. So it doesn't matter where it enters the house, because it's going in the crawl space, it won't disturb the first floor, and then they just run it from there to wherever they need to.
Oh, got it.
That's the best answer I can give. I think that's probably right. Okay, so, let's keep going on this handout. So contour lines, those are needed if there's an elevation, there's a change in elevation in the land. And so if you look at, I didn't number these, but it's 157, the third page of the plot plan. On figure 11.4, it shows like a square, rectangular, roughly rectangular lot. But the house is in the highest point, kind of comes down to the front and back to the back. And you can tell by those elevations, right? 100 foot, the house is 105 and the back of the property is at 100 feet above sea level or above the benchmark. And so you can kind of tell how that lot's graded just by looking at those lines. You understand what I'm saying? Each of those contour lines in that upper right-hand figure on page 157, they're curved because that's the way the hill is above. It's just a few feet difference, but it's enough that they wanted to show you. The house, again, there's the elevation of the house on the house. So it's finished floors at, see, I say finished floor, another discrepancy. 99% say subfloor. Occasionally someone will say finished floor. So 105, and then it goes down 3, 2, 1, it goes down 5 feet to the back of the lot. And then up toward the front, it goes down also a couple, 3 feet. So that gives you, if you're looking for an idea of what the land looks like before you get out there, that would help. On the next few pages, they have bigger, these aren't necessarily house lots. They're kind of just terrain, but it's showing you how contour lines are. So you can take any terrain that's, got a low point, like a lake, or a high point, and you space contour lines so many feet apart, and it'll tell you what the slope's about like. And if it's a gradual slope, they'll probably be far apart. And if it's a steeper slope, they'll probably be closer together because you want to see. But when you look at this one, don't look at the bottom part. They projected what a section looks like down below there. This is on page 158. If you didn't look at that, you couldn't tell whether that smaller circle was the top of a hill or the bottom of the lake, right? It would have the same, it would look the same from a top view that just had lines. Right. So the way you can tell is again by on the next page, it shows you by the elevation. So the top one, the elevations get less in the middle one. It goes from 894 to 884. So obviously that middle one's lower. So that's going to be like a lake or a depression. And then if they went the other way, if they got higher, then obviously it's going to be a hill. So that's how you would read that. Go back to 158 across the thing, and they've got a section line. We're going to look at these because houses have these same kind of section lines. A1 and A2, it's like you take a knife across that land there, and then you cut it, and then you look at it from the side, and you see what you see down below. So it matches if you match it up with the contour like they did with dotted lines, it'll show you what that depression looks like from side view.
Did they do that anywhere, Patrick?
No, well, I don't know, they might. It depends on.
No, I just meant in this packet, does it show the actual section elevation anywhere?
Well, yeah, right below that on 158.
I see.
You see, right, it looks like the same drawing, they run it together,
Got it.
and they just projected it down. So But that's just kind of a general thing, you know. We don't need to know too much about that because, you know, we're in it's a carpentry program class, right? And the grading is done by a whole other trade. And they would have to know everything about the trading, so we just need to know the overview. So. Sometimes on the back page or 160, the rectangle on top, they'll show a grading map or plan with the original grade and then the finished grade to show you what they did, why they moved the land. So that sometimes happens too. Yes, sir.
What is the instrument that measures the elevation?
I'm sorry, what?
What is the instrument that measures elevation?
They use a, what do you call it? Lewis on that.
What, GPS?
No, well, yeah, they use that too, but if you're just sitting on the land, you want to get an elevation. Use that. Not a village level. What's the other one that moves?
Transit.
What?
Transit.
Yeah, transit. You can do with the transit. But we're going to look at when we go to site a house, which we'll do in a few seconds. There's usually a benchmark. Yeah, okay. Look on this education set. There's on the front page on the site plan. On the very left is you see benchmark. It's in a box. You can't miss it. So that's the top of a concrete highway monument. What the heck's a concrete highway monument? Usually they're what do you call those? The metal lids, the manhole cover, yes, right? Usually they'll use that because that's flat and it doesn't go anywhere. I don't know what this, but it could be anything that is fixed. It's going to be there for a while. So I mean, sometimes there's nothing and they'll put a stake. They'll put a stake in it, and they can even put survey metal pieces. Some people can do that. Usually there's a plate, a brass plate that shows the elevation of that area in relation to sea level, within a half a mile almost everywhere, especially in a city. So like the nearest one to here is on San Marcos campus on the baseball field, whatever the field closest to Turnpike is, and then it's down in there. I've gone and looked for it, but it's down. I can't get in there. But so a surveyor could go there and see that and say, okay, this is 20 feet above sea level, and then he would have to come up to the freeway and come across with his building level or whatever he's using transit and transfer that elevation to a benchmark closer to the home. So that in worst case, they would have to do that. But I think now people are just using GPS. And the other kind of ironic thing is the sea level is changing pretty fast because of global warming. So that's not a constant. Before it was a pretty constant for a long time, and that was something, but now that's a very flexible thing. So I think they use GPS to establish a benchmark. But it's not, when you're doing a lot like this in a city, you don't really, everything's going to be off that benchmark. So you can say that benchmark 0 and make everything off of that 0. That's what a lot of architects do. They just cash it out and start with that. They find that benchmark, and because everything has to refer to one place, and they call that 0. And then when you go into layout, you go, okay, that's 0, and you can transfer it over to the house and find out where. If the elevation on the house subfloor has to be 10 feet, then you know to go 10 feet above that. So that's pretty much how they find the height of that. But I researched this and I called engineers and everything and tried to ask them what they used. A lot of them didn't know. I think it was really a mess. But I'm pretty sure they use GPS now if they actually need to know sea level elevation, or I guess just a general elevation. GPS isn't related to the sea. Okay, so let's go to the back page. I flipped it around, it's right on the other side. I figured it'd be easier to get to. So this is out of the construction book we use, Modern Carpentry. And it's a pretty good one because it's challenging. So I've used it every year since I've had that book. So there's two things you want to do when you site a house and that the site plan is going to help you with. One is you want to get the vertical height of the house, and that's what we've been talking about. We'll say a little bit more about that, where on the land that's going to lie. You don't just go there and there's a grade and you just lay it on that grade, because that may not be where the architect wants it. So you got to, plans are plans. So if it spells out the height of that house, that's where you're going to put that subfloor, that location. Whether you have to dig or build up to it. Usually it's graded so that you don't have a lot of room. If there's just a regular foundation, you don't want it too much above the existing land. So if it's, for some reason there's a view or something and you want high, then they'll bring in some dirt and grade it up to that. Okay, so the elevation is done that way. And here's what I was trying to tell you about. So here's the subfloor. Here's the finished floor above it. And that will be on joists. Right. And those joists will be on a mud sill. That's a 2x6 plate. And that will be on the foundation. So you've got that kind of foundation. Can you see that okay? So the measurement we're given is that height is the top of the subfloor. So that says 137 feet. And we're going to put our form boards right here. So we want to know what this height is. That because we're doing that. So we need to find out the distance between here and here. So we've got subfloors anywhere from 3/4 to 1 1/8 inches. Sometimes they're using those big subfloors. Let's just say 3/4 to make it simple. And then the joist is say 2x10s. It's 9 1/4 sometimes. And then this is 2x4, or actually they're using thicker bottom plates now, right? And this area they're 3x4, 3x6. So what's that? 2.5 inches. Say 3x6, so 2.5 inches. So we got to add these up. So we're going to add 3/4 and 9 1/4. And 2.5. And that'll give us the top of our forms. So that would be 10, 12.5 inches. So we could subtract 12.5 from the 137, right? And that would be where that height is. Or we could just call we could call this one doesn't have a benchmark. Don't you love it? I think. So say the house is 137 and the benchmark was 130. So that's a manhole cover in the street. So the house is 7 feet. The finished floor of the house is 7 feet above that manhole cover. Let's say that. So then this would be. So you could take this as 0, the manhole cover, the benchmark. It's all relative, and instead of 137, you just have 7 feet, right? 7 foot difference. So this would be 7 feet up here. And you subtract 12.5 would be a little under 6 feet, 5 foot, 11.5. So your form board would be 5 foot 11.5 above that benchmark on the street. So you just take your transit or whatever you're doing, village level you can use. So if you're new at this, we haven't been building and even the shape of a house is new to you, don't worry about it. All you need to know is that this is what the plan tells you, this height here. And you have to figure out where your framing that you're gonna start on, where your floorboards go. And that's how you do it. You have to know what all these dimensions are. Okay, so that's how you get the height. So now we want to know how to position it on the land horizontally, right? So what you do, you're looking at this, right? Everybody, this, the back of the plot plan handout. If you look at this house, it's a couple of rectangles, right? So once you get one wall, everything else is going to be 90 degrees from it. And that'll be easy to do. Right? You all know about a 3-4-5 triangle? A lot of you do. Those of you who are new or haven't built them. If you've got a wall and you want to do a right angle to that wall, which most walls are right angles, not always. You go 4 feet this way. You can do it inside or outside the wall, doesn't matter. You go 4 feet this way, and then you go 3 feet up this way. And then this is fixed already, this wall here. And so what you do is you have your tape and you do an arc at 5 feet and 3 feet. Right, the 4 feet, these points are fixed. They're on this is where you want the wall to go. This plate's already there. So where those arcs meet, that means that this will be 5 feet and this will be 3 feet, and this is already, this is 4. And so that makes this a right angle, which is it's 3, 4, and 5, but that way it's the long side's 5. You can reverse these, but the long side will be the 1. And they don't tell you this in any of the books, but there's no other way to find this point. Because you're trying to find a right angle, so you can't go 90 degrees from the wall. That's what you're trying to find. You can eyeball it and get pretty close to 90. That's why you do an arc. So it's somewhere along that arc. It's probably close to where you see it, because most carpenters have pretty good right angle vision. Then you take this one, and that's fixed here. This was fixed here. This is fixed here. You take your tape and you do another arc at 5 feet, and where those two meet, it's exactly the 90-degree line. So any place you want to do a right angle, you can do that 3-4-5 triangle. That works. There's only 2 triangles in all of existence whose sides are whole numbers. Can you imagine? You all know that?
What do you mean?
Most triangles, you find the hypotenuse by squaring this and squaring this, adding them, taking the square root.
Okay.
Almost all of them have a decimal somewhere in one of the 3 sides. There's only 2 that don't. They have complete whole number sides. This one, and I think the other one is 13, 12, and 5. Let's see. 169, 144. Yeah. 5, 12, and 13. That's the other one. Now, I haven't proven this, but no mathematician in my classes has said I'm wrong. But this is not a good one to use, right? Because the numbers are too far apart. It's too awkward. This is almost a square. It's really, 3, 4, 5. How much better could it get? So this is what everybody around the world uses for finding a right angle.
Or just multiples of that, right?
Or multiples of that. Thank you. That's the other thing. The bigger you go, the more accurate it is. But sometimes you won't have room. If you're just doing a small walkway or something and you only have 3 feet or 4 feet, you use that one. You could actually go down, take half of those. But usually we go up. So you could double it and go 6 feet this way, 8 feet that way, and 10 feet that way, or any multiple. Yeah, thanks. That's a pretty useful thing for carpenters. But so that's what we do. But we have to find the first wall on this. Okay, so here's where the challenge is. So look at this closely. I think let's look at that top left corner of the house. And there's a lot of numbers up in there. Let's see if we can find that. First, we'll find a point you know, the endpoints of the wall, see if we can find those. Then the rest of the house is easy. It's all 3, 4, 5 from there. So if you look at that top left corner of the floor, it's, you see the 18 feet from the left-hand boundary? Okay, so it's gonna be 18 feet, and they've got an extension line. Remember, we talked about extension lines last night? And we'll catch you guys up. You know, they extend down, so you can see there's an extension line there that actually is parallel to that left side. Because the reason they use an extension line is that they draw the arrow right at that corner. There's too many things going on there. It would just be so hard to see. So to get you out of there, they put an extension line and said, you know, just go down the line and look down there. But how do we know that that point is, how do we know where 18 feet is? Look.
There's also 25 coming from.
Yeah, well, hold on. We're gonna get to that. So here's the boundary, and you gotta go 18 feet, but what if you go like this? Straight up, which would be 18 feet. If you go at an angle, is this gonna be 18 feet? No, it's gonna be a triangle, it's gonna be the hypotenuse, it's gonna be 18 plus, so that won't be accurate. So if the plan says 18 feet from a boundary, then this has to be a right angle. Yeah, so you could do a 3, 4, 5 from it, but how would you do that? Because you don't know where it's gonna line up with the corner of the house, right? So here's what I would do. I would draw a line parallel to the boundary at 18 feet. Just take that. And you could do a right angle if you had to be really perfect. You could do a 3, 4, 5, but usually you can estimate. And this is exaggerated. Usually, if you're just doing it by eye, you won't be much further out than something like that, because you can usually see pretty close. And that may be an inch at the most, so it's not going to be a lot. So, but if you really wanted exactly, then you'd make sure you took a right angle and measure out 18, that'd be right on the line. Then you connect those and you got a parallel line. So that's just like that. That would be the same thing as that extension line. It would just run along that whole area. So you know that's where now there's not a house here yet, right? So you just have a line that runs parallel to the left boundary at 18 feet. And you don't know where the point of that house is because you got to come from the top from some other angle. So Ben, you go by Ben or Benjamin? Okay. So Ben said, try what'd you say, the 25?
Right.
Okay. Now, you do the same thing. You do 25 and do a line across. And where those two lines met, that would be your corner. Yeah. So that's pretty easy because the plan has two numbers in the right place. But, okay, you've got 1 point. So that one you can find. How about the other? You need a wall to go 90 degrees off of. So how about the other end of that wall, back wall? How do you find that?
Isn't it 20?
So what number do you see up there?
I think 20.
20? Yeah, so it's 20. But how will you could do a parallel line 20 like we've been doing across there. And how would you know where that wall hit that line? So the wall has a length. What's that? 26. So what if you took your tape, put it on that first corner, and then at 26, so you'd have to have a 30-foot tape, right? 25-foot tape won't do it. What if you ran an arc until it crossed that parallel line you had from the 20 feet? That would do it, huh? So that would give you that right-hand point. So it's a combination of using your tape for an arc. So any place on that arc is the same distance from that point, but you don't know where another arc or another line is going to hit. So you run an arc and somewhere it'll hit. So remember that. That's a good trick, using an arc. They don't talk about that. Everybody does it, but it doesn't seem to get into these, the literature about it when they're explaining it. So once you have that back wall that we just did, then everything else is right angles from that, and the distances are given on the site plan. So then you're kind of home free. So a good site plan should, I don't say will, depends on how savvy the engineer and the architect are. We'll have numbers that'll make it easy to find those points. This one, the numbers are okay if you know how to use them, you know.
Hey, Patrick,
Yes, sir.
could you use an angle finder on this? Or like, what are those drafting tools where it's a half circle? You know, and it has the different angles on it.
Protractor?
It's not.
Those things are so fun to play with.
Right? It's, something else.
Well, how would you find, so you would use the boundary as one side of that angle?
Yeah, so you could still draw your triangle.
Yeah, but how would you, how would you find the other side of the angle?
Well, if you drew a triangle, right, off of the corners of the house to that property line, and then use that to find the angle.
No, but you don't have those lines. They're on the plan, but they're not on the land yet, right?
Right.
Oh, so you're saying, extend that back wall to the left boundary, say,
Right.
and then do an angle?
And then yeah, draw a triangle.
You could probably do that, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
Anything that's a protractor, that tool is gonna be, that big or possibly bigger.
Right.
But you're talking about 20, 30, 50 feet. And so when the chances of you, say you had something that actually had sides to it, you know, like a, protractor, protractor that does that.
Right.
Then you've got to extend that line, each of those lines. And that's where your accuracy is going to suffer. Because it's only this long. How do you know when that line's exactly on the edge of that? It's going to be so easy to pull it over and not notice either way.
Right.
So that's what I would think. I've never heard of someone doing that, but you could sort of double check with that. That would actually be a good thing. Make sure that you're doing it right. So the best thing to sum up this particular thing is to put parallel lines where you can, right? If something's a certain distance from a boundary, just draw a parallel line, that same distance from the boundary, along the side of where your house is going to go. So you have all that room, all that area to work with. And then also crossing with arcs with your tape. Those are the two things to, and then using a 3, 4, 5 triangle. Those three tips will pretty much help you lay out any.
How precise, let's say that you have this empty lot and then you're trying to find the first corner that we talked about, the 18 by 25, the first dot. The
Yeah.
first corner. Let's say that you missed by 6 inches. Is that a big deal?
Well, that's a great question. So I haven't told you this yet, but the set of prints is also a legal document.
Right.
So if you don't build according to that document, you can be sued by any number of people, the architect, the client. But then there has to be something, I don't know, there may be a convention that's just understood, maybe in building department literature, that says locations of things have, framing locations have to be within a foot. Because, no one's going to make it more than an inch, because that's almost impossible. These lines sometimes look like right angles and they're not, and you wouldn't know that. So it would be pretty crazy, but they might have something that says locations must be within a foot of the plan, or 6 inches of the plan. And if they didn't say that, then it would be a lawsuit. I mean, they'd probably, however those things run, But if it's 6 inches is, well, to me, I don't think any of that matters. 6 inches, who gives a crap, right? But, there's some pretty uptight homeowners out there that just like to sue for anything. You know, a lot of wealthy people just, it's part of the way they do things, and they might do that. So, but I'll look into that. I'll see if Rodney or Jim might know that. It's a great question, though. I mean, you do the best you can, but there's, you know, worse and better approaches, right? And you're expected to have one of the better approaches as a contractor, as a licensed contractor, which doesn't mean anything. You don't learn half this stuff when you're coming up. So, but in terms of what the law could do you, how much flexibility they have, that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, people, you know, you couldn't see that, right? You couldn't see 6 inches on this plan at all. You could say, oh, look, that house is 6 inches too close to the boundary line. There's no way they do that. If there was something that had to go in there, you had to miss, like they had to put a pool in there and it had to have so much, and that interfered with that, that would be hairy, and you'd probably lose that one because, you know, they say, look, we can't build a pool now. You built this thing 6 inches too close to the boundary line. But even pools don't have, they have more flexibility than that too. Okay, so this one on here, this one's interesting because look at this site plan on the one in class. What do you notice about the garage? It's got a 17.70 foot from the left boundary, right? And it's got from the front boundary, is there anything? God, there isn't, is there? How would you get to how far back it is?
Somebody wrote it in on ours.
64.
So this one you could scale, right? From the street. Because those setback lines and the sidewalk lines, those have to be accurate. That's one of the things that was on the features of the plot plan. Locations of walks, drives, fences, location of easement setbacks. So that has to be fixed. So if you just took your scale and went back, I wrote in 64 feet here. That's probably what that is. You'd be okay. But look, say you got the garage, it's a rectangle and it's parallel to the left side. So that's going to be relatively easy at some point. But look at that house is at an angle to the garage. Yeah. And that's going to be a problem. That's where you could probably have to use an angle.
Kind of a weird design.
It is a weird design.
Looks like a nut. Yeah, or like a faucet. Yeah, the faucet up here and the water comes out.
So on the right side, they've got that 33.14 feet. But if you notice, the right side of the house isn't parallel to the right side boundary. It's off, it's skewed a little bit. So you'd have to make sure that you'd have to make sure it's right angles from that boundary line. So this one doesn't give you very good information for siting the house, I don't think. Look at, there's a great measurement, 88.5 and a diagonal from the benchmark to the porch. Okay. Yeah. How would you use that? That's so weird. Anyway, we won't take time on this one, but this one, because I don't know how real it is, but you'd have to figure that out too some way, same way you did. And when we start looking at the other plans, we'll go through and look at side plans, and then we'll look at floor plans, we'll compare them and show what they did. So the other, let's take a break now. Yeah, and go till like 20 of. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about floor plans a little bit. And that'll
20 of.
15 minutes. What?
740.
Yeah, okay, oh yeah, 740,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, 20 of 8.
I'm not.
So, have you had any? Yeah, so.
I asked him, I
So this
need
stuff.
They're like, oh, it's right around the corner.
It's only a backup, like a lot of foundation.
Okay, so, what should I say here? You got a hold of me before the class started, right?
Yes. And then I was useless at looking at my email. I'm terrible at finding email, so I turned around and I saw your email. I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah. Well, I know, we can't say that though. We have to lie here. So, I'll say, contacted, see, it'll be in my handwriting, I don't really care. Contacted teacher before class.
So they do Zoom for the class too?
What's that?
Did the Zoom for the class too?
Yeah,
Okay.
so if you miss a class, you can go to Zoom. We've got a couple of people that are out of town, and so.
You do all the construction classes?
Well, I used to be chair for 13 years, because when you have a small program, I was the only full-time.
Yeah.
And a chair's got to be a full-time teacher. So I couldn't, most subjects shifted among us. But I did it, and then I retired 3 years ago. But the school was on a budget crunch and they couldn't afford to replace me.
Yeah.
So I stayed on as an adjunct to help out. So we finally we're hiring a guy right now, so. And, these are, I mean, I say these are my last, some are two of my last classes, but, yeah, I may come back and do something.
Yeah, the green building class, you said was your last class.
Yeah, I know. Well, they have CT 124 in spring, and I don't, that's
Next spring,
huh?
next spring,
I mean, next fall.
next fall.
Yeah, and that's a really specialized class, and I'm the only one that's ever taught it, so I gotta talk to the new guy and see if he's up to it.
Is that building performance?
And if he can get it, if he doesn't need that, in the units he needs to be full-time, then maybe I'll do it, and he can, and I can do it with him.
Yeah.
Because it's an odd class, and green building can be odd if the person's hasn't been thinking that way.
I have like both framing left and building performance and measuring and calculating.
Okay.
Oh, and 115.
So I'm gonna, before class is out, I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna do with these. I'm gonna try to get someone to take them. But they may want everyone to take their own, because sometimes the admissions is weird like that.
What time does this class go to?
Huh?
What time does this class go to?
Oh,
11.
between 8:30 and 9.
8:39.
It says longer, but
Yeah,
nobody,
no, I was like, gee, dude.
nobody can stay awake that long, so
Yeah.
it's too hard. So 9, if we got going on something and, I know I got to go past 9.
I was like, work today, and I was like, oh.
I know. They don't take that into consideration because they treat every program the same. And I've always said, come on, we have to have it at night because the guys work and they're tired. They can only take a couple hours. So we just do what we do. Thank God we're on this campus and not over there where people can see what we do.
Yeah, work, and then I'm doing like another online class
Yeah,
this summer, semester 1, and it's like, I have like another assignment like due tonight. and So I'm glad we don't go past that.
So how does the AA work out? Does it just to complete all the classes?
Yeah,
And is there multiple during the normal season, like normal fall and
Yeah.
spring? There's normal amounts of them, like,
there's like 2 or 3 going on all at the same time.
oh,
there's 10 required. And we're doing 2. We're doing the math one after summer 2.
Mhm.
Are you interested in doing the certificate?
I'm gonna try to do with the associates and.
Yeah, but you need a certificate.
Yeah.
You get that. So if you could take the math in the second, have you signed up for that or no?
No.
If you could take that, you should sign up for that, and get out of the way.
Mm.
Because otherwise it drags on, and we're shifting full time, and I'm not sure how timely all the classes are gonna be offered. So whenever there's a class offered and you have the time and the money to do it, do it. But, everybody's got family and all kinds of responsibilities, work, so, but all things being equal, I always suggest do as much you can whenever it's offered. So there's 10 required classes and they go, I mean, they're mostly spring and fall, and then whoever of the teachers wants to teach a summer school will do that.
What do you personally have the experience?
Oh,
Well, I mean, like,
well, I've been a licensed contractor.
Yeah.
A lot of my life. You mean in construction?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been a licensed contractor
okay,
and a carpenter all my life.
did you do apprenticeship or did you
No, I just taught myself.
okay,
Yeah. And slogged through year after year since the 70s. Jim and I, the other teacher, we're 4 days apart in age and we started building 1972. Nobody ever asked me that. That's a great question. Okay, so let me call my. No, he's not answering his phone.
One long hole.
Hey, Mike, it's Patrick. It's 7:30 on Tuesday night. I've got a class until 9 here, but I'm trying to deal with these ad petitions. And I know how to fill it out. I've done that over the years. And we're all good with that, but what I want to know is, do the individual students have to turn them in to the admissions, or can I take a bunch of them myself and give them to one of the students to turn in? So not everybody has to go down there. I've got a high school kid who goes to high school tomorrow. He won't be able to do it. So if you get this, before 8:30, let me know, okay? All right, thanks.
It just wouldn't be a public school if they didn't make the worst decisions possible.
I fought this bureaucracy for 15 years.
The problem is they only understand how, the STEM classes work.
Yeah. Well, they always blame it on the computers. And the computer can't handle complexity, so everything has to be the same. That's such total bullshit. I mean, good God, it's 2022. The truth is, they don't want to spring for new programs that are, because they do cost money. But that's such a hassle for a teacher.
Yeah.
Hey, Patrick,
Yes.
3, 4, 5 triangles and then 12, 12, 5, 13.
Yeah.
Apparently there's an infinite number of those.
There's an infinite number.
Yeah. And all unique, not just like multiples of each other.
Oh,
Well, of course, but
Or those are the two easy ones.
No, the two smallest whole number ones. Does that help?
Yeah,
Because you can't get any smaller whole number. You can get multiples, but you can't get factors.
no, like 5 or 15, 8, and 17 are also, or 21, 20, and 29.
No way.
Yeah, there's an infinite number of those.
Okay, what is it? No, just give me each of them. What was that one?
How many years have you been telling that people that without
I
them?
know, I know.
15, 8, 17.
Yeah, have you tried those?
Yeah, there's actually, I linked a Wikipedia article. There's a way to actually derive all of them. Well, infinite numbers, so just like keep going.
Well, there can't be an infinite number of,
Now, if Wikipedia says it, it must be true.
no, under 10.
Oh, under 10, of course not.
Yeah, but that's the practical, under 10 and multiples of those. How many are, oh yeah, so there may not be any others under 10. Then 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, that's the only one under 10.
Okay, well then that's what I'll say. I mean, I'm implied that because, you know, you're out in the field, you don't want to work with a number under over 10. It's too complicated.
Right. Yeah, I just thought this was nifty.
No, but I didn't know there were any, so that's good. What's the article? Where's the?
I linked it in chat. It's the most recent thing I sent.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know which is worse, 13, 12, and 5 or 15, 8, and 17.
Yeah, I don't think either of those would be fun.
3, 4, 5 is just easy to remember.
Yeah.
Right. And then you toss on the multiples and you get the accuracy you need.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just stop saying it and say just 3, 4, 5 is what we use. But thanks for looking that up. I always wanted to know that.
3, 4, 5 is definitely still the easiest one.
Yeah, by far. And it's fat, so I mean, both sides about the same, so it doesn't matter, kind of matter which way you go, left or right. So let's see, who's been, this guy is. Oh, Diego, did he turn this in yet?
so hard.
Patrick, with the new guy coming on, do you think we're going to see some of those classes that aren't required for the certificate?
Like what?
Like outdoor structures, for instance.
No. Well, you know, I don't know. The reason we stopped it was because most of the students were just coming to get the certificate and possibly an AS.
Mhm.
Didn't want to take any electives outside of that. We could,
So-
we could make it an elective.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Didn't they say, or maybe it was either you or Jim that said, when you guys had all the electives and stuff, the non-credit ones filled up more than the just electives.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I think we'll do is non-credit.
Yeah.
I was thinking no pass, no pass when you said that, but yeah. Yeah, what I'm thinking, and we're gonna have a meeting with the 3 of us and the dean and the new guy. And, cause we wanna like, do some new stuff, you know, make the program, go over the program again. And, but what we've been doing is kind of, like we had a contractor's license prep class.
Mhm.
That was really good, but it only drew about 5 or 6 people, which wasn't enough for the, for the bureaucracy here to allow it. But that could be a non-credit class. And the outside structures could be non-credit. Or, like I said, they're probably gonna redo the structure and maybe they'll add some electives. But see, the problem with electives, if you have more than one, then the students might split it up. So
Right.
and then they wouldn't be enough for either class to fly with that 15 minimum.
Back in this program's heyday, about how many students did you have?
About the same.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, you got to think about Santa Barbara, the size of the town, and half of it's people that want their kids to be professionals, right?
Right, not tradespeople.
Right, and the other half is trade, so that knocks it in half.
Makes sense.
So I've always contended that we've maxed out the people that live here. They won't drive from, well, we get more North County. We're getting more North County now, but for a long time, we didn't get any, people wouldn't drive from Lompoc or Santa Maria. And they won't drive from Ventura. Carpinteria, we get some. We have one now.
Santa
So,
Barbara seems like it's a good town for the trades, though, with how many affluent, rich people you have here.
well, yeah, but you know what happens? A lot of companies are out of town. They come up from LA. The big companies have reputations. Well, that's what I've always said. And then with the backlog in infrastructure work and with the remodeling, that a wealthy community does, that there should be enough. There's going to be enough work, but whether you get enough students that want to go that direction to fill a bunch of classes. Oh, I was on the way.
Yeah, he was there for just like almost all day. And she got to hang out and talk to them. She said, like,
To try out.
yeah, during. Must have been the weekend after the first week.
I want to hear that.
Hey, can I get some of you guys to help me move these plans up?
We're gonna use those instead.
Look at it.
It's pretty awesome. Are they the same? The same?
Yeah.
Oh, I moved to the stick. I'm the one who knows that. One.
One with the other ones that are already here.
Be more legible.
Angel, I got one. I got two.
I did.
Have you ever Googled or read this on
No, no. But I have been out, because this one I just got done, I've been out to look at the house, never got built.
the one on the second page, on Flagstaff, Arizona?
Hey, Mike's not answering me. Do you have any way to get a hold of him besides his number?
I'll see him tomorrow morning.
Hey, can you text him right now?
Yeah,
Because he might answer a text. I've been trying to call him.
possibly. What do you want me to say?
Tell him to call me. Because it's the answer to these guys with their ad petitions.
What's it worth?
So if I
to
don't
you
hear from
guys?
them, I'm just gonna take them all myself.
Who wants to add?
Oh, David, do you have yours done yet?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, bring it up here.
Can I ask you something about mine?
Oh,
Sorry, I haven't finished. The ad count.
yeah.
On your handwriting, is this an S or a 5?
Yes.
Patrick,
But let me check.
Patrick,
Okay. Let's see. You've already got a good reason. You know, they sent me 2 pages of ad codes.
what did you want me to ask you?
Call me. Tell them I got it.
Well, what's your question though? Because
Oh,
maybe-
about if the teacher can turn in the ad petitions or each individual student have to do it. Let me give you another one. It won't matter, right?
I'll just get cross it on.
Yeah.
I grab one, so shit.
No. And just have it. Oh, yeah, the round top. Yeah, sure. You know, when you print it out, the next day they have a whole bunch of different ad codes. I think it's stupid too, but who am I?
What do you guys?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I didn't give you an ad code yet, did I?
Oh, yes, sir.
And they make a mess and it's hard to get the berries with those birds. And the berries don't last. Really?
Okay, so what, well, let's look at the one you got on top over here. So how many of you know who Armando Arias is, the drafting teacher? How many have had drafting at City College? Any of you besides,
Yeah, years ago.
was Armando there then?
No, it was a lady.
I know. So anyway, this is his plan. AADC, Armando Arias del C. And it's a, what do they call it? It's a preliminary plan, because until the owner agrees to it, to the preliminary thing, there's no use doing a final plan, because it's a lot more work. So it's kind of a brief plan, but it's, for that reason, it's good to look at. So look at this front page is the site page, right? And it's A, see, he called it A0, so he doesn't use the C convention. He does have an S, he does have a structural standard, which is just a template a boilerplate template. Because he doesn't want to do actual details until he's sure that he's got the job, and then he'll go back and look at how he wants to build. So, yeah, if I don't hear from my chair before you guys leave, I'll take these myself and strong arm the administrative person that has elected to deal with me. In worst case, I'll say, look, you know,
I'm gonna get your.
anyway, it's got a vicinity map, right? Such as it is down at the bottom there. It's got some building data, scope of work. At the index of the sheets. I don't have all the sheets on it. I just took the ones that. See, he has a lot of symbol. He has a symbol code for the probably for any of the plans that use those kind of symbols. Again, this is stuff that he got. He's got a a template from somewhere that he uses. Conditions of approval. I think to put that kind of thing. General notes. Notice kind of do it on the site page. So this is a much simpler house than the one we just looked at. So he's just got a black outline of the house, and he's got setback, distances. He's got the trees, symbols for the trees. He's got some of the utilities, setback from the street. So it's pretty basic. And this is a middle class house in Goleta. So doesn't take a lot of data for that. And then let's go to the next page, which is the we put the roof plan on the same page to save space. We got the sheet, it's top one. And we'll look at that roof plan later. Also, like to have a roof plan, often the roof is pretty simple, but because of this addition, they had to kind of do a special kind of roof. So we'll talk about that later. But the floor plan to the right is pretty simple. And is there a key here? Yeah, at the bottom right. So the dark walls are the
Oh, Patrick, you missed the call from him. He left a voicemail.
how does that work?
He said also I should be paid to be your courier.
Tell him you are getting paid. You're getting paid in kind. 2 hours ago, that's
Wow.
no. You left a voicemail?
That's what he said, yeah.
I hate this phone.
It's like the best phone.
Huh?
It's like the best phone.
I know. Doesn't do what I say though. My wife says phones hate electronics, hate me. Sorry, let me take it. Hello? Oh, that isn't what I wanted to hear, but
They each individually have.
they individually, that's what I
That's
thought.
what I
But,
was thinking.
but we've got a student who can't get there tomorrow. So I'll go down and I'll try and I'll tell them that I don't know when they'll be able to do it. Right? But anyway, I'll ask them if they'll accept that. And you work. See, they don't understand. All these students work or go to school, you know?
You gotta play by the.
They might
rules of this.
understand, but I wouldn't. It's the school.
You gotta, you gotta just bend over for the institution. You just gotta play by the. rules. You work, well, what do
Like
you
I've
do on
always
your
done
lunch
that.
break? Come over to student services.
Forgiveness, not
Daniel,
permission.
can you get to school tomorrow?
Here?
No, main campus,
Yeah, what time?
anytime. Well, what do you think admission hours are?
We can, in the morning with it. It's probably 8 to 4 is my guess.
And Ben, you can't go tomorrow, right? 8 to 4, anytime in there?
I mean, if I have to, I'll make it work. I'll just go in at lunchtime.
Okay. And then Memphis, you could probably do it, right?
Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah. And I'll deal with Anthony. Okay, let me just sign this. I'll get back to you.
Says in-person hours, Wednesday, 9 AM to 4 PM.
So lunch they'd be there.
Students.
Yeah,
are-
sorry, guys.
9 to 1.
9 to 4.
What's,
Not really. You might be able to sell it. To somebody who recommends you. Yeah, you probably use it. I'm wondering how.
You're always safe if you ask your chair. Then you're going through the channels.
It's pretty similar to.
Okay, Anthony, let me try that. Give it back to you. I'll give it to you somehow. And that will do it.
All right.
Somehow we'll do it. Thank you. Okay, so you're looking at that floor plan, second page?
Yeah.
So what are the dark walls mean? New walls. New walls, yeah.
First floor.
Yeah, first floor, it's only one floor. And I think they're new walls, right?
Oh, it's a remodel.
Yeah, it's a remodel, sorry. So the darks, the new walls, and then the walls that have dotted lines, like in the back of the house, those are demoed walls. So they're adding a kitchen in back of the garage, and they're adding a master bedroom suite in the backyard beyond to the back of the house, basically. And then the walls that remain are just not dotted, but they're not filled in either. So sometimes they do things like that, combine, tell what they're taking out and what they're not going to take out. So see in the front, the windows there, they have a dimension to the center of the window like we talked about. Everywhere there's a window, there's a center line measurement. So yeah, you guys weren't here last night. Look at the bottom. There's a window box coming out, and see it's 6'9" from the left-hand outside wall. And they always measure windows to the center of the window, and same with doors, inside and out. So you'll see that on this one. Okay, so put this one underneath, and we'll look at the floor plan on it's A5 on the house site plan. So what would be an example of an object in terms of object dimension
Oh, it's close.
A5?
We don't have one.
On the other set of plans.
Oh, yeah, the first, the house set. The set that-
This is original set?
Yeah, I'm gonna call it the house set,
Where is
because we'll look at it more than any other. So A5 on that, the one that you looked at earlier tonight. That's kind of our default set. So A5 is the first floor plan. They don't have a second floor plan, so I don't know why it's called that. But anyway. And so you would never have this on the left, the foyer screen elevations. They kind of combine everything in the set. So you don't end up with a lot of plans to look at as the educational plans. So these walls, all the walls, this is a new house, so all the walls are shaded dark, just so that they stand out. There's not a difference in, you're not remodeling, so there's not walls you're taking out. So remember we looked at objects versus dimensions versus annotation last night? Objects are anything in the house that has a shape, you know, and then dimensions are the sizes of things, and then annotations are notes about explaining what things are. Those are kind of the three factors. So what would be, point out some objects to me in this set.
It's in the bathrooms or laundry.
Yeah, the sink,
The
toilets,
toilet.
yeah. Countertops in the kitchen, you know, stove, bifold doors, windows, you know, any material thing. And the floor plan has everything in its place. So this is one of the, and it also has all the dimensions of the walls. So when you're framing, when you're building, this is one of your really important plans.
Hey, Patrick,
Yes, sir.
what's a deep tray ceiling?
Where is it?
The master bedroom, it says optional 12-inch deep tray ceiling. Is that where one layer of the ceiling comes down further than the perimeter?
No, wait, no, I still don't have it. The master bedroom itself.
It's
That's
above
the
that
optional
2 by
12-inch
6
deep tray
bearing
ceiling.
wall.
Yeah, optional 12-inch deep tray ceiling.
I have no idea what that is.
Okay.
But when you get to something like that, then you go to the, first check and see if there's any sections through that bedroom and they're not. So a bedroom would show, you know, what it looked like. Oh, I know what it is. Oh, I thought it was just a line on the side. It's around the whole room. So that's just they drop the ceiling on the edge and then it goes up in the middle. So it's got a little detail to it.
Got it.
So that versus if someone just wants a total height, because some people like just clean lines, but they like it high.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I didn't realize it
That
from the
makes sense.
box here, but yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, so you'd see something like that,
I don't know if I like that.
and we might want to see if there's a section, although that's pretty self-explanatory. You just drop something 12 inches.
You like
And,
that?
let's see if there's, oh yeah, okay, so see this on the right by the master bedroom, master bath and walk-in closet. On the right side, see that circle with an arrow on it? It says B on the top half and S1 on the bottom.
Which room exactly?
The right hand, the very right hand room, yeah, where there's a walk-in closet and
Oh, yeah.
below it, just hanging out in the air, there's a round circle with B on the top and S1 on the bottom and an arrow. See there? Everybody see that? I know it's late, you guys, don't be too much longer. So you're looking at the floor plan and you're looking at the top right where the master bedroom is. And then below that, yeah, see that symbol there? It's a circle with an arrow on it. So that's a section symbol. And we're going to study those by themselves. But since it's part of the floor plan, we'll just mention it today. It's it's a line, it goes all the way through, and you'll see the other side of it on the top of the page. It's kind of a darker black line with a dotted thing. That means you're gonna take a knife and you're gonna go right down through the building and you're gonna cut it. And then you're gonna look at the way the arrow's pointing. So they're only gonna show you what it looks like if you stood in the room and looked that way, look the way of the arrow. It's not gonna show you the other way. So they're isolating something that's difficult to understand with just a floor plan. And so they want to have a cut of just a specific area. So they will put a symbol like that. And then the B in the S1 stands for the page it's at. So there's an S1 is the page and B is the particular section. So if you go to S1, that's one B. So where's B?
For a second.
Yeah, I got it. So what is that showing that you couldn't see anywhere else?
Well, the crawl space.
Yeah, the crawl space, yeah.
The roof assembly.
But the crawl space isn't especially interesting, although it does have the joist change up from 2x6 to 2x8.
The trusses.
Yeah, the trusses, yeah, or the soffits. Yeah, the trusses is what they're trying to show. Also, see the little roof behind? Yesterday, we looked at that roof from a front elevation, and there had a dotted line that hugged the slope, the sloped trusses there. So this is what we have to do from now on. We have to go from page to page. So go back to A1. And see up above, the right, the top drawing, which is the south elevation. The top drawing on A1, way there.
Yeah.
The right-hand side is that little projection that has the walk-in closet in the bathroom. That windows to the walk-in closet. So the roof just looks like a little, I don't know what they call this roof. I call it a McDonald's roof. It's like a fast food roof. Carousel roof, I think they call them, I don't know. Then go back to the plan we're just looking at. And it shows you that roof's just a facade. And that behind that are is a roof that slopes. It's trusses that slope down, so it doesn't stay like that kind of carousel roof all the way through. It's just a facade, and then behind it, it's actually slope roof to let water down. So that's what you end up doing. You end up going from one print to the other to find the information you need. And there's there's standard ways to put it. They actually show you the section there also, which isn't always done. You usually have to go to the floor plan for the section. But this house has got some weird stuff like that cupola. And so you need sections and.
So why is the arrow, like the B over S1 arrow?
Going the wrong way.
Yeah, it's going.
Because they drew it wrong. Because it's the same reference, right?
Yeah.
So it's, if they had a different number, different than B, then it might be looking the other way, the same cut. But this, they just made a mistake. Now, maybe they,
All the other drawings go the other way.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's a mistake. You know something though? Look at this,
The direction of this
look
section.
at the floor plan. Where the section cut was. So you're looking at that. You're gonna look at it from left to right. You see what I'm saying? Put yourself in the position, like in the bedroom, and you're looking out toward that. That's the way the arrow's going. So there's gonna be a wall to the left where the toilet is, and then there's gonna be a wall to the right where the window is, right? So if you go back to this section here. Page with that. That's one.
So which one? This one?
That's the one I do, yeah. So,
Oh, no. So then we can fold it back.
okay, so here's a challenge for anybody. We got substitutes in there. What's wrong with that? What's on the left of that?
Wait, what are you looking at? Cross section
The
B?
section B. What room's on the left?
Yeah, the walk-in closet.
Yeah, so go back to the
Yeah,
floor plan.
I was confused. by
So
that, too.
actually, the one on the elevation is right, you're looking back. And the one on the floor plan.
Yeah.
So
But
so,
it's wrong on the foundation
floor-
plan and the
yeah,
floor plan.
right. So when you come across that, you go, oh, something's wrong. You have to figure out what's wrong. And if it's obvious what they did wrong, you don't need to say anything. But if it's a really critical point and you can't tell, you can't be sure, then you have to go to the architect and say, look, these don't match. Which ones that the guy you want? This one you could probably figure out because, it names the room, so it can't be. But what got me is, what tipped me off is, if this was a cut the way they said, this right-hand roof at the end of the truss has a little overhang, just a little tiny, looks like on the S1. And when I look at the elevation, it's got a carousel roof,
Yeah, just,
so it doesn't make sense.
no.
But the carousel roof's on the other side, so they just reversed it. So you discover that as you're going, well, that's not right. And then you realize what they did. But when you're trying to build this thing, you've got to, the first thing you have to do is understand the whole house. And then you're gonna focus on foundation and you're gonna work on that. But when you first go through, you have to make sure that all the plans line up. Like you said, you were talking, Evan, about the different, each plan, it was going a different direction. So you have to straighten all that out right away, because you can't build if it's not clear. And then when all the plans seem to match and you've looked it all up over and you kind of you looked at all the sections and you kind of got an idea of where it is, then you can focus on a foundation plan, because that's what you're gonna, with site plan, then the foundation plan, 'cause that's what you're gonna start with. But, when you first get these, like if you were a crew leader, your boss would give you a set of these plans to take home. They'd say, in a week, we're gonna go to the site and do this, so study these up. And you'd sit at home at night and you'd study these things.
So this wasn't a real house that was built, right?
No, I don't think so. Just from the nature of the mistakes that were made and, yeah.
I don't know why they put that.
Although it's
carousel
pretty
roof,
elaborate, maybe, I don't know, maybe it was,
But they put that carousel roof just in like the back right corner of the house, and then the rest of it is just all.
I think it looks stupid. I mean, look at the picture. Well, that's another thing. Sometimes a site, cover sheet. Now, in our handout, it's called, when it said the site plan, what was on it, really meant the cover sheet because it included the way to find a place, whatever they call that, location map. And the location map's not really on the site plan. The site plan, the location map's on the page where the site plan is, but it's not the same thing. But sometimes they'll put an illustration on there too, like this, La Chapelle contemporary house plan. But look at that, you all see on the front page, that drawing, rendering. Now, they used to do renderings for all houses, and they used to have artists, a special person that would come in and do a watercolor, really nice looking watercolor. So again, Frank was right, tiny box architect, his creations were just fantastic. I'll show you. But this house is kind of a conglomeration of a lot of stuff, which is also makes you think that maybe it was put together for this purpose. Because there's just so many different types of architecture. Although, like I said, with that picture of that contractor Gothic, people do design houses like this. They're kind of a wreck. So let me just look over the floor plan and see if there's anything else I need to bring your attention, and then we'll go home. really important ones at the beginning are the floor plan and the floor framing plan. Well, the foundation, once you get into the foundation, you're ready to frame, you have to make sure the framing plan really goes with this, you know, floor plan. So if they vary, then you're screwed, because the floor plan really is dictates everything, because that's the client sees and they go, oh, there's a better, that's a good size, and blah, blah, blah. And then so if the framing plan differed and you change this, the architects go, God, that bedroom looks kind of small, what happened? And you go, whoops, the framing plan didn't agree, so we just went with that. You'd be in trouble. So this has girders. Now they don't say where, if they're in the ceiling or if they're in the floor. I think these are in the floor.
What page is it?
Well, I'm on A5, the floor plan. Right in the middle of the great room is a double LVL girder. So the way you do it is you just go to the framing plan.
Would that just be like an exposed one?
Yeah, so that's in the framing plan. That's a ceiling girder.
Yeah.
They should say that, because sometimes they'll put and they may on here, they'll put a foundation girder there, so you know what's above it. So if you want to set something heavy, you set it on that. So that's why I thought it might have been a foundation girder, but, or a floor. I mean,
I think that's also just where the ridge is.
yeah. So, but there's a lot of girders,
Oh, right.
like there's that kitchen one.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are ceiling, because they show that girder in the dining room, and that's doubled up there, yeah. So this one shows the girders with lines, and then it shows the post underneath the girder. So when you build your wall, you gotta make sure there's a post under that. The post is in black, darkened,
Oh, just like in the wall.
yeah. So one thing I wanted to point out, you guys, I might have mentioned it yesterday, when you're dimensioning, I think I did. You put the longest dimension on the furthest away from the house.
Yeah, you mentioned it.
Okay. And that's mostly for ease of looking at it. It's, you know, so it doesn't get too crowded and, you know. Yeah, sometimes, you know, this plan's borderline too much information. It's pretty packed. I think it's,
Yeah.
you know. So you see a difference in the thickness of the walls. Exterior walls are fatter than the interior walls, yeah. And also in the bathrooms, there's a bathroom, what do they call it? A plumbing wall. And it's next to the appliances, because you have to have drains that are bigger than a 2x4 wall. Right?
Where are you?
Say the laundry and bath on the right hand side. See the middle wall between those is thicker. It's actually 2x6. If you have a 4-inch drain, you can't get in a 2x4 wall, 3.5. So that's usually a fatter wall in the bathroom. Doors are always, you know, they open, they show the way they open. They draw them open with that little arc, because that's important to know which way to, when you put the door on. It's got to swing a certain way or it doesn't make sense. Windows have a symbol, the type of window it is. These often, not always. Like, you know, some windows, transom windows will hinge at the top, swing out, or no. No, those are
Awning.
yeah. Those are awning that go this way. And then transom go the other way. You know, hook at the bottom, hinge at the bottom. Or sliding, so they usually these they look kind of the same. Um, One way you can tell, if you can't tell what a window looks like, go to the elevation and look. Often you'll be able to figure out what. If a window's a casement, they need to show which way it. Usually casements will be in pairs and they'll go out like that, or in like that. But if you have one, you don't know, it's important which way it goes, because it could be in your way if it goes the wrong way. So those usually show, we'll look and see if they have, we'll look at the window schedule. Which I think was at the beginning, we'll see, we'll look at all
Would
that.
those say like left hand or right hand?
Yeah, yeah, we're just gonna put that down line. So, you know, you gotta know all this at once, but you can only learn it step at a time, so I'm trying to get you to see what each plan adds to the information. So all the dimensions for the walls are all on the floor plan. So it's kind of the king plan in some ways. You can't deviate from that. And all the other plans are supposed to go with it, fit with it perfectly. But. So I think that's good, huh? So what's the schedule for tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
I mean next time.
Tomorrow.
Scales, framing, and framing plan. Framing overview and framing plan.
Oh, yeah, I gave one my thing. What is it? Framing and,
Bring scales,
oh yeah.
framing overview.
You want the framing overview? Yeah. Let me give you that now, okay? And then, especially for some of you who are beginning, and you'll have some time to look at it. So, you know, if you've been building a while and you know what different frames look like, one thing, but if you're new, you kind of area. So I'm not gonna punch these, because it takes too long, I want to go home. So take them, read them, and then next week, when you have some, come to class, we'll punch them. Yeah. Yeah, so this has some foundation stuff on it. So. And then we'll do the, make sure your scales are, you bring your scales.
I think so.
Right?
Yeah, I got that.
You have a scale already? The architect.
The ruler? I'll get one.
Call it a scale. You call it a ruler from the architect though.
Oh, I think I have an extra one of these.
Oh, okay.
And I have an extra one.
Everybody got a. Okay. Yeah, sometimes the staples fit together. Everybody got this frame? Oh, okay.
She just says final.
Everybody got this? Yeah, so look at that. You know, even though we didn't floor plan our history tonight,
Hey, you need
obviously, we'll keep looking at them as we go.
I'm heading to CC right now.
I do.
Oh, you did?
Taking advantage. Yeah. No, you know what? He has to do something Tuesday night. That was one of the things I was looking at. Yeah, I know. He has a tough time.
Yeah.
I'm really glad to take a class.
You want this,
He's a good guy.
I'm not.
He's good, because he's done a lot, so I can.
I have a.
Is that the way you do it? I go, no, we do it this way.
Oh, you too.
I don't think no one wants.
Oh, so you all got your. You all got your things to take the admissions, right? Yep. Okay, and I'm gonna work on. Okay, great. All right, see you guys Monday. Thanks, Patrick. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Patrick.
Okay. Okay, Zach. See you guys. Yes. Actually, yeah. Yeah. After this, after the class. No, you might have to be really, okay. And Tuesday, and you probably won't be back Tuesday for it? Okay, so look at the video, okay? Yeah. Okay, that's what you have to do.
Thanks, Patrick. See you next week, Patrick.
Okay. To be online. Well, if you can't be somewhere and do it, it's a recording. So it's, go to YouTube. Okay, and go to CT 116 and it'll be there. Okay. And you need to do that for yesterday's too.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you get confused, email me and I'll get you to it.
You're welcome.
Oh, I should have had people bring these maps back. Well, you know,
Back there?
I'm the only one here. Let's take a chance.
You can put them back right now.
No, let's take a chance.
Yeah.
Well, no, let's put them back. The clean guys. Take them, you know what? Take them just like they are. So the two are together and then we'll pass them out as pairs. Right? Okay. Yeah, if you would, that'd be great. You can't go until I go. So we're
Well,
collecting,
I can.
so we're collecting these as just as pairs together.
Spares, okay.
Yeah. And then we'll pile them up and we'll put them on top over here.
What are we gonna use the architectural scales for? Like, I know what they're, sort of what they're used for, but I don't know workings on the.
Yeah, we're gonna measure, yeah, if a dimension's not on the plan. Don't put everything. The architect decides what he thinks you need, but often short. So then you have to measure for yourself.
They really just stuck every single thing you could ever need on there. Measure it.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay,
Thank you, Patrick.
yeah, you're welcome.
It's useful. If ever wanted to build something to scale, it'd be a lifesaver.
Yeah, well, it really comes in handy, I'll tell you. I mean, I'll show you guys at the end stuff I designed for the school, stuff we built. I couldn't do it unless I could draw a scale.
Good night, see you next week.
Okay, then. That stays. This goes. Well, those two students didn't get a hold of me.
I guess they don't want to.
Guess they don't want it bad enough. Everybody else came, but
It's weird because I really like these sort of more technical classes that are focused on, practical